XJR, also known as the X350, and we're going to throw drilled and slotted rotors on this. On these particular rotors, on the inside, there's vents that go this way, so you want those pushing forward on the top. Break the bolts free, jack it up, make sure the parking brake's set, chalk your wheels, and then once it's jacked up, you can go ahead and take the wheel off. Okay, so the bolts are 19 millimeters to take off for the lug nuts. To take off the caliper, normally if you're going to just replace the brakes, I believe you can push these out and then the brake pads come right out from there. You got 2 bolts on the back side. Those are 18 millimeter, and I'm going to get those off, and I'm probably going to clean up my really nasty looking brakes there. Okay, so of course nothing easy like that happened. I just took the other bolt out, and there we go. So I don't know if you can tell, but we got 4 piston calipers. What I'm going to do is leave these calipers in and go ahead and take a C-clamp, compress that all the way down. That way when we put the new pads on plus the new disc, it should be able to fit back on there. But those are going to have to be compressed all the way down. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm using my breaker bar to hold the huge caliper up there. The old disc brake came off, but it was a little bit of a fight. I had to beat it with a hammer. It eventually came off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a wire brush. I'm going to clean up all up under here so the new brake goes on smoothly. I'm going to put the new disc on, and then we're going to grease up the brake pads, and we'll get these on. Okay, so you can tell I got the disc brake, or the caliper mounted back on here. Use the C-clamp. I used a piece of wood and then tighten it down using the old brake pad. So that should get it flush with both on this side. Then you gotta do the other side. I'm gonna use some copper grease on these things. We got these little pins here, and I'm going to wire brush this real quick, just kind of clean it up. And this little pad here, I'm going to clean some of that up. I don't know how much. I think most of that, the contact points are on the top and then right along here. So I'm going to throw a little bit of this goo on there. And I'm sure if I look in my comments years later, I'll have people tell me I'm a freaking idiot, but whatever. So a little bit on there, a little bit in there, a little bit in there. So I'm guessing a little bit of grease might not be a bad thing for this either. It appears to have like a type of tension ring here to keep it in. So I'm going to move that back up for about the 10th time. Goes in from the back, that goes in on the top, and it goes all the way through. I'm going to use a little hammer go ahead and tension this down and then put it through the other side, and then we should be good to go to bolt everything back up together. We got everything cleaned up, got both of your pins in, along with that little center thing. Pin, 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 pin. Make sure you torque both the back bolts. I'm going to do the other side and then we'll start doing the back. I don't know if you can tell, but I have coil springs on here because, of course, my second XJ also had an air suspension failure. And rather than me chasing down problem after problem like I did on my last XJ, I did the smart thing, bought coil springs, and I am never going to have to mess with them again. Okay, one thing I was going to talk about. There's only 3 bolts on the back of this. Make sure you're taking out the right ones, because the other bolt goes to the brake lines. Got those tapped in just a little bit. As you can tell, I hit it. This is what I'm using because I don't have a brass drift right now, but I just tap it, tink, 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 exactly, just like that. Okay, and those will get those pins far enough out that you should be able to do that by hand. Yeah, that worked out well for me. So anyway, yeah, once that comes out, that takes all the tension off. This side just falls out. What I'm gonna do, same thing I did on the other side. Really water through this, but that's really good. What's in order tensions on this? This on that side. So I'm just gonna do this. This side first. So that is all the way on. Other side looks like it's all the way on. So okay, as you can see, I got my brake resting on my pry bar, which is wedged down in there. Because these brake lines, you don't want to be. This is a heavy caliper. You really don't want it resting on those lines. Anyway, wire brush again. We got the disc on. We've got the caliper mounted on here. I went ahead and torqued the bolts all the way down. I don't normally do that on disc brake calipers, but with this being a full floating, they just fit right in there and they pretty much fall all the way through. So on the pads, you want to get the back. Really, you only need to put it where the little circles are for the pistons, and then on the sides because that's where they wear. So we're gonna throw. We got that one in. Oh, by the way, when you're cleaning this out and you have it off, make sure you're scrubbing the crap out of that thing, especially in the channels on the sides. You'll see it because that's where the disc brakes fit in there. And then on the little tensioner, these 2 tabs on the bottom, you'll see they're the only part that's not dirty. Make sure you clean those up real good. The little channels where the pins go, right here and here, scrub those up real good. I use a little bit of grease on there, and then on the bottom tabs. Alright, I'm going to do the top one first. Of course that would fall right in there. And then this, wire brush that. I use copper grease on it also because I hate squeaky brakes. So I don't know if you can see this, but the pin goes in there just like that. Right along that channel, you want to make sure that's in there. On the bottom, you're going to want to push that in when you do the pin. It's actually pretty easy. Okay, so we've got both of those in there. You just hammer them a little bit in. At the very end is a little tension, and then you'll see it. These little cones will be all the way out once you get it hammered all the way flush in there. And then that's it. So put the wheel back on and use my plethora of different bolt sizes to get that back on there. So there's a Toyota nut to replace these. These things are junk. No kidding. The chrome little cap on this thing comes off, and that's what the inside looks like right there. And I probably have very few times to put those on and off. So I'm going to put these on for now. And first chance I get, I'm going to replace these with those proper Toyota ones. And I think they don't have like a little chrome cap on them. And I'll probably get some black ones because these things are always dirty. Okay, we got the front brakes done. And if you see right here, you got your brake reservoir. You look underneath there, make sure it's not all the way over in the max or low. And then next you need to pump the brakes. So, before we start working on the back,